Hi everyone, my name is Alexis, and today I'll be discussing the effects of chronic stress on adolescent brain development. This topic is crucial because adolescence is a period of rapid brain changes, and stress can have lasting impacts on mental health, decision making, and even physical health in adulthood. We often think of stress as just feeling overwhelmed, but chronic stress actually changes brain structure and function, affecting learning, memory, and emotional regulation. By the end of this presentation, you'll understand how stress during adolescence shapes adulthood and what we can do to reduce its effects. So, stress during adolescence matters because this is a time of rapid brain development. Unlike adults, teenagers' brains are still maturing, making them more vulnerable to stress related changes. During this stage, the brain is building critical connections in areas like decision making, memory, and emotional regulation. If stress becomes chronic, it can interfere with these processes, leading to impaired cognitive function, making it harder to focus, learn, and remember things, increased emotional sensitivity, leading to higher risks of anxiety and depression, weakened impulse control, causing risky behaviors like substance use or reckless decision making. Studies show that teenagers who experience high levels of chronic stress have a greater likelihood of developing mental health issues in adulthood. Think about a time when you were really stressed. Did it make it harder to focus in class or control your emotions? That's because stress directly affects your brain's ability to function. Adolescence is a critical period for brain development, and stress can have long lasting effects on key brain structures. The three main areas impacted by stress are the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for decision making, impulse control, and reasoning. Chronic stress can slow its development, making it harder for adolescents to regulate emotions and make rational choices. The hippocampus, which in this region is crucial for learning and memory. Stress can shrink the hippocampus, leading to memory problems and difficulty retaining information. The amygdala is where the brain's fear and emotion center. Stress makes the amygdala overactive, increasing emotional reactivity and risk of anxiety disorders. Because these areas are still maturing, stress exposure during adolescence can permanently alter brain development, leading to increased risk of mental health issues and cognitive difficulties in adulthood. Imagine trying to study for a test while feeling overwhelmed. Your brain struggles to retain information because stress disrupts the hippocampus. This is why chronic stress can affect academic performance. These three brain regions play a major role in adolescent development, and stress can disrupt their normal growth and function. The three that I spoke about in the last slide were their prefrontal cortex, which is the control center. I also spoke about the amygdala, which is the fear and emotion center, and also the hippocampus, which is the memory and learning hub. So, chronic stress doesn't just impact emotions, it directly affects a student's ability to learn, remember information, and make decisions. High stress levels make it harder for students to focus, retain new knowledge, and think critically. This can lead to academic struggles, frustration, and lower self confidence. Stress hormones, especially cortisol, interfere with the hippocampus, the brain center for memory and learning. High cortisol levels weaken memory recall, making it difficult for students to retain information for tests or class discussions. A stressed student may study hard but forget key details during an exam due to anxiety and mental fog. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for logical thinking and problem solving, is negatively affected by chronic stress. This can lead to more impulsive decision making, poor judgment, and increased risk taking. A student under chronic stress may procrastinate on assignments, make last minute decisions, or struggle with time management. If stress is unmanaged, it can create a cycle of academic difficulties, leading to even more stress and frustration. This can also increase the likelihood of dropping out or disengaging from school altogether. Reducing stress through healthy coping mechanisms can improve cognitive function and academic success. Chronic stress doesn't just affect emotions, it physically changes the structure and function of the adolescent brain, sometimes in ways that last into adulthood. Since the adolescent brain is still developing, prolonged exposure to stress hormones like cortisol can reshape key brain areas, leading to long-term effects on emotions, behavior, and cognition. So, these changes increase the risk of mental health issues like anxiety, depression, and impulsive behaviors in adulthood. The earlier stress occurs, the more likely that these changes become permanent if not managed properly. Understanding how stress reshapes the brain is crucial because it highlights the need for healthy coping strategies during adolescence to prevent long-term consequences. Since the amygdala is overactive under stress, adolescents become more prone to anxiety and depression. At the same time, an underdeveloped prefrontal cortex leads to poor impulse control, which is why stressed teens may engage in risky behaviors like substance abuse or reckless decision making. This is why stress management is critical, not just for mental health, but for avoiding harmful behaviors that could shape a teen's future. Chronic stress doesn't just disappear after adolescence. It changes the brain in ways that can lead to lifelong mental health issues and difficulty handling stress in adulthood. Long-term effects include risk of chronic anxiety or depression, heightened stress response, making future stress hard to cope with, difficulty forming and maintaining healthy relationships. Adults who experience high stress as teens often report higher rates of workplace burnout and emotional exhaustion later in life. Chronic stress during adolescence doesn't just affect the brain short term. It can actually increase the risk of chronic illness and cause long-lasting changes in brain structure that persist into adulthood. Prolonged exposure to stress hormones, especially cortisol, can damage brain cells and weaken the body's immune system, making individuals more vulnerable to both physical and mental health conditions. Studies showed that adolescents exposed to chronic stress are at a higher risk for depression, anxiety, and PTSD in later life. This happens because prolonged stress alters the way neurotransmitters and stress response systems function, making the brain more reactive to future stress. Chronic stress has been linked to reduced hippocampal volume, which impairs memory and increases the risk of Alzheimer's and cognitive decline later in life. This means that stress during adolescence can literally change the brain's ability to process and store information as we age. Chronic stress affects the entire body, not just the brain. It increases the risk of heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, and a weakened immune system. A stressed adolescent may develop poor eating and sleeping habits, leading to inflammation, obesity, or metabolic disorders over time. The key takeaway is that adolescence is a critical period. Stress-related brain changes can have lifelong effects, making it crucial to address stress early on to prevent both mental and physical health consequences. Since chronic stress has long-term effects on brain development and overall health, it's important to focus on ways to reduce its impact, especially during adolescence when the brain is still developing. The good news is that early intervention, healthy habits, can help protect the brain and body from long-term damage. Some strategies to reduce the effects of chronic stress would be teaching adolescents healthy coping skills, and which can help them process emotions in a healthier way, which could be practicing mindfulness and meditation, engaging in creative outlets like art, music, or journaling, or talking to a trusted friend, mentor, or therapist. Exercise helps reduce cortisol levels, boosts mood, and improves brain function. Getting enough sleep, about 8 to 10 hours, is crucial as sleep deprivation increases stress sensitivity and impairs memory and decision making. Having positive relationships with family, friends, and mentors provides emotional support and helps adolescents feel secure. Research shows that adolescents with strong social connections are better able to manage stress and have lower rates of anxiety and depression. Reducing environmental stressors such as academic pressure, family conflict, or unsafe surroundings can help lower chronic stress levels. Schools and families can promote stress reduction by encouraging a balanced workload, like not having too much homework, providing mental health resources in schools, teaching stress management techniques early on. Sometimes stress can become overwhelming, and that's when professional support such as therapy, counseling, or medical treatment can be life-changing. Seeking help early on can prevent long-term mental health issues and reduce the impact of stress on the brain and body. While we can't eliminate stress completely, we can help adolescents develop tools and habits that allow them to manage it effectively, protect their brain health, and improve their overall well-being. Chronic stress during adolescence is more than just feeling overwhelmed. It can actually reshape the brain development, impacting mental health, decision making, and even physical health well into adulthood. This topic matters because adolescence is a critical period for brain growth, and stress-related changes during this time can have lifelong consequences. The prefrontal cortex, amygdala, and hippocampus are key areas involved in memory, decision making, and emotion regulation. These changes can increase the risk of anxiety, depression, and poor impulse control. The impact of chronic stress doesn't just go away. It can lead to lifelong struggles with mental health, cognition, and even physical health issues like heart disease and weakened immune system. Adolescents exposed to chronic stress are also more likely to engage in risky behaviors, which can further impact their future. By understanding the impact of stress, we can promote early interventions, mental health awareness, and stress management techniques to help adolescents build resilience. Schools, families, and communities play a huge role in providing support and resources to help young people navigate stress in a healthy way. Recognizing the impact of chronic stress on adolescent brain development is essential for shaping healthier future generations. By supporting young people today, we can help them lead happier, healthier, and more successful lives. Lastly, these are the sources that I used in my presentation.